Revelations of a hermit who spent 20 years in the taiga. Moscow, June 3. RIA Novosti, Maria Marikin. Anna Tretyakova from a small village in the Irkutsk region lives like almost everyone in the outback. She keeps a farm. With numerous cases, the 53-year-old woman copes easily and says that it was difficult before, when she and her husband were hermits in the Siberian taiga for almost 20 years. As the daughters and sons grew up, it became increasingly difficult to fit in the cramped temporary shelter on the skids. Then Anna took the children and went out to the people. And the husband remained in the forest. How the fate of the former hermits developed in the material of RIA Novosti. Wanderings. We agree on an interview with Anna in advance. There is practically no communication in the village of Sururovo. We need to go to the district center, the city of Tashit. At the same time, I will bring sour cream with cottage cheese for sale. I do it myself. We have a small farm, a couple of cows, geese and chickens. She was born in 1966 in a small village in the Irkutsk region. Her father was a hunter and a fisherman, so Anna knew how to put loops and shoot a gun from childhood. It was very useful to her. The girl was only 16 when she gave up everything and ended up in the taiga with Viktor Antipin. I met him a couple of years before. A young man from Smolensk was traveling in Siberia. Happiness is in the simplicity. He was looking for a suitable place where he could settle down and live away from vices, explains Tretyakova. They roamed for 6 years. First we went deep into the Eving taiga, 200 kilometers to the nearest settlement, Anna recalls. But the conditions were too harsh, they did not stay there. Then they lived in hunting lodges, where you can hide from predators, warm up and cook food. From 1983 to 1989, the couple had 3 sons and a daughter. 2 boys died in infancy, one was immediately with pathologies, the other could not stand the cold. My daughter was born in February 1986, somewhere in Ivenkia. It was a hard winter, it was difficult to get food. They were saved by the deer that were grazing nearby. We had to put one female on the meat, thanks to her, and survived. The name of the daughter was given in honor of the savior called the deer. And 2 years later, a son was born. After long wanderings in 1989, the family returned to the Irkutsk region. They settled in 12 kilometers from the village of Sururovo. Viktor got a job in a chemical farm. They were allocated a small plot in the taiga and Balak, temporary housing on Skidzet. When the USSR collapsed, the company was closed. Antipina refused to throw beams, left in the forest. In the 90s, they also had Vitya, Misha and Alicia. My son, born in 1988, died at the age of 6 because of a tick bite. Anna still cries when she remembers the dead children. Taiga. We got up at dawn, got grouse, squirrels, hares. We went to the river for fish. We collected mushrooms, various herbs, dried them for the winter. Berries were for us instead of sweets, describes the taiga life of Tretyakov. When the children grew up, no one just climbed trees. Everyone had their own duties. One would prepare the firewood, another would go for water, and a third would check the loops with the traps. I can't say that we lived like savages. We talked to people from the villages when they went for mushrooms and berries. At the same time, we learned the news. Anna made hats out of hare skins, and Viktor wore them for sale in the nearest villages. We were given skins for dressing, and salted wild cherry was ordered in buckets. Many people, knowing how we live, helped. My husband always came back with a full backpack, clothes, cereals, flour. Children were taught to read and write. Viktor Grantovich, and he loved to sit with a book, especially on cold winter evenings. The escape. The beam where the family huddled was cramped, 3 meters long, 1.5 wide. In the winter, it was necessary to add wood to the stove every hour. I was responsible for the heat in the house. I'll go to sleep, and then I'll wake up at the right time. I'm a woman, so I'm the keeper of the hearth. They slept in the beam like this. There were bunks on the floor, someone settled on a bearskin spread right at the entrance, someone used a hammock as a bed. 6 of them in such conditions was simply unbearable, Anna admits. In July 2002, she decided to take the children and leave the taiga. I began to prepare. I went alone to the village of Sururova. I only told Oleni about it. The locals sent the hermit to the administration. They did not refuse to help her. Having agreed on everything, I returned to the forest. Victor begged me to stay. But there was no stopping me. Children should not suffer. In November, Anna, along with 16-year-old Olenia, 10-year-old Vitya, 8-year-old Misha and 3-year-old Alicia, were taken by the administration staff to a new house. This was taken care of by the head of the village. Instead of a temporary house, they now had 3 rooms, a summer porch, a garage, a vegetable garden, and a sauna. Neighbors helped with dishes, clothes, and books. Life among people. First of all, Anna began to restore the documents. Then she proved through the court that she was the mother of her children. And soon I met another man. Victor knew all about it, and he often visited his family. We asked him to return from the taiga. But he's not in any way. In 2003, they celebrated Olenia's birthday together. And then I didn't hear from him for a month. Usually, at least, I went out for bread. The deer went to her father. He was already dead. Only 53 years old, he hasn't been feeling well lately. I asked him to seek medical help, but he refused. I carried a lot of heavy things, and I was in pain. The hernia must have killed him. Buried, as he wanted, in the taiga. Anna threw herself to the upbringing of children. The sons, according to her, had no problems with adaptation. They found a common language with their peers immediately. But the deer took a very long time to adapt. The eldest daughter graduated from the village 9-year-old as an external student, went to a neighboring village to a boarding school, where rural high school students finished their studies at. But I dropped out of school. I saw how other children behave vulgarly, smoke, drink, swear. It was too much for her, and she couldn't take it. But now everything is fine. He lives separately with his family. My son served in the army after school. The eldest got married. Misha came to visit this February. I went to the forest, repaired our beams. She takes care of him, keeps the memory of her father, says Anna. Alicia, after graduating from college, moved to another city. After returning to the village, Lykova worked as a cleaner, an assistant cook, and a watchman. Now he is only engaged in household chores. I have been retired for 3 years. It is required by law as a mother of many children. In the new marriage, Anna had 2 daughters. However, with the second spouse is not very lucky, quite lazy, does not help with the housework. I'm a very hard worker myself. I didn't think that life would lead to this. The former hermit still goes to the forest, collects mushrooms, berries and herbs. Anna does not regret that she left taiga, although she says that life away from people has taught her a lot.